Hello, my name is Brant Hunt, and my channel simply is Discerning What is True. This is going to be reading from a particular book, something called Psychology and Kabbalah. Phil Lang is the one that suggested this particular author long ago, actually. The guy's name is Zev, Z-E-V, Ben, B-E-N, Shaman Haleve. Kabbalah, Tradition of Hidden Knowledge was the book he told me about. And then I happened to find another book called Psychology and Kabbalah. So we're going to go into that tonight. This is chapter 12. That is correct, I think. Called Birth. B-I-R-T-H, that is. So let me change the background color here so it'll be easier to read. Why it's not doing it now? So here we go. Again, this is the title of chapter 12. The chapter is Birth. During the process of gestation, the mineral, vegetable, and animal levels of the embryo are built by a field of force and form present in the womb. This is a combination of the mother's vital energy and the zem, that's spelled Z-E-L-E-M, zem, or image of the individual to be incarnated. Slowly, the necessary elementary base of the fetus fills out the already existent Yazerati plan as the vegetative principle takes in nourishment from the mother and builds up the structure. Around 4 months, the body is sufficiently developed to move about. Like an animal restless within its confines, confines. During this time, the psyche, while relating to the growing fetus, is relatively unbound, according to research under the hypo-regressive technique. 33% of the testing subjects observed that they did not fuse with the fetus until just before or during birth. Moreover, some did not fully incarnate until afterwards. Many people gave remarkably clear description of their own state and that of their mother, and others described crucial periods during pregnancy. All of this indicates a lucid awareness of what was going on. In one case, for example, the person observed that they were frightened by the rapid growth of the fetus and the oncoming birth, while another, one of twins, recalled the conflict over which fetus was theirs. This echoes the biblical story of Jacob and Esau, who fought in the womb of Rebekah, indicating a high degree of consciousness prior to being born. In many cases, detailed observations of the mother's physical state were recalled. So too was her attitude and that of the father, because the psyche was not, like the fetus, confined to the womb. In some cases, the person could recall coming and going as if hovering between two worlds. And in one instance, the individual was aware of checking the fetal state of development from time to time while spending the rest of its period elsewhere. The degree of involvement with the fetus during pregnancy seemed to be variable. For example, only 12% of those regressed reported being attached to the fetus at 6 months after conception. So it shows a photo here of work actually in the book. And I think it has a lot to do. Let's see if I can find it here real quick here. Trying to find it. It's a color code. Well, should be here. I don't see it so far. Well, okay, I guess we'll continue on here. So let me go on, continue on here. Sorry about that. I was trying to find a copy of it. So figure 18 is birth. As the psyche slowly slots into the body, it becomes conscious of who its mother, father, and family may be. They could be strangers or members of their soul groups. Mozart, for example, was born into a family of musicians. This depends upon karma. Those of a higher order can choose where they want to be born in order to carry out some mission. So again, this is all prearranged before the child is actually in the mother's womb. The greatest human spirits often remain discarnated, as they are more effective as guardian angels, as they are sometimes called. These beings are called Mag-Adim in Kabbalah. That's spelled Maggidim. The connection between the body and psyche at this stage of their relationship is not strong. This means that in some cases the privilege of free will can be applied to abort the process or to go on. Like the person who saw that the fetus had webbed fingers but chose to continue the pregnancy because the mother was so happy. Others are not so steadfast and withdraw, precipitating a miscarriage. This might be caused by a negative attitude on the part of the mother, or external events that are more than the incarnating person can endure. Generating natural or accidental stillbirth, which may be an unconscious form of abortion. In the case of deliberate abortion, the issue is different. It's a matter of choice, and from the flow, certain consequences of karma, good or bad. Rabbinical law discusses the problem and concludes that under certain conditions the mother's life comes first, provided that the child's head or a greater part of the body has not emerged during birth. Abortion prior to the state was not considered. Seen from an esoteric viewpoint, there may be a moment of choice for many reasons to terminate a pregnancy, but the effect of the parents and incarnating individual has to be considered very deeply before any action should be contemplated. Many who have decided to abort have preserved their lifestyle, but experienced a profound loss of more than a child. For the soul who was returned to the upper worlds, is perhaps less of a shock. They can at least come in via another couple, or if right, and the original parents have learned a vital lesson, return again as a second child, who is often given as a second name, the one intended for the first fetus, because the parents sense it is the same soul but in another body. As we have described, the time and place of a birth is taken into account by those responsible for organizing the incarnation. The cosmic rhythms and patterns ebb and flow each year, and it is a question of inserting an individual into the physical world at the best moment for their development. Traditionally, there are 12 human types held in the place of the self at the temporal, of the psyche, and the maku, of the spirit. Each one of these dynamic forms has a distinct character which contributes to a general spiritual psychological experience. Tradition suggests that we incarnate as one of those types in order to learn and perform certain cosmic tasks and psychological roles. Moreover, that we slowly move around the zodiac from type to type as we proceed from life to life. Seen Kabbalistically, these forms are the various modes by which each divine atom of Adam Katman experience all the levels of existence. Astrology is the study of these principles, and so the moment of birth, when the fluid quality of the psyche is crystallized and the solidity of the body is of great interest. Anyone who has been present at a birth and is aware of more than just the physical action is struck by the presence of something very powerful and otherworldly in the room. Indeed, for anyone who has witnessed death, the same sense of the upper worlds is present as the soul departs. At birth, the process is reversed with considerable effort needed to bring the person down, because beside the problem of getting the psyche into the very small glove of the body, there are dangers as the individual shifts their center of gravity from one world to another. This can be intrusion by lost discarnates who still seek a body, or entities that simply like to interfere with the transfer process. Such an idea may sound medieval because it is no longer fashionable in our age of science, but many highly intelligent and sensitive people discreetly acknowledge that this is possible, and that the notion of possession by alien psychology is not just a myth. In earlier times, people accepted the reality of other worlds and their inhabitants and took precautions with prayers and amulet. Now, while we depend mainly upon physically conducive conditions in the labor ward, it is noticeable that more care is being taken of the psychological conditions into which the child arrives. The recent techniques of birth taking place in warm weather is the echoing of esoteric ideas of bringing the individual slowly out of the Yerzadi world of water into the earth of Assyria. There are, however, other spiritual procedures, as there are traditional watchers in the room of death, so there can be those at birth. Besides the preparation of those below to create the best conditions for birth, those above also attend a incarnation. It was observed, for example, by one who was given the task to act as a watcher at the labor of a woman under the discipline of Kabbalah, that as the moment of birth approached, so there appeared a ring of light that encircled the room. This was augmented by 4 columns of coal blue fire, which passed through the floor and roof of the chamber. As the labor increased, so too did the intensity of psychic activity. The doctors and midwives did all they could to encourage the birth, but it became very apparent to the Kabbalistic present that nothing would happen until certain conditions were in alignment. At the specific moment, the final contraction began, and while everyone else was involved in the delivery, the watcher saw several figures high over the bed, helping someone down. The image was blurred, but they were unmistakably quite human. These attendants worked above with their psyche at the time as, These attendants worked above with the psyche as those below labored with the body. When the child emerged, the figures above the bed faded, but the circle of light and the pillars of blue flame remained for some time after the birth. Figure 19 simply says rebirth. The moment of birth is no random accident, not even a cesarean operation. Birth is timed by providence to coincide, with the sequence of the divine plan in which everyone has a chance to participate in the creative drama of evolution. Some, by willfulness or fear, can postpone or even abort their birth. These souls are then out of synchronization with the fates they were meant to, the fates that were meant to live and suffer accordingly. Many psychoanalysts have this problem, as the world does not match their version of reality. Those who constantly mesh in with the current situation usually live life to the full. Perceived from the babe's view, many who underwent the hyporegressive procedure vividly recall entering the birth channel. Descriptions of darkness, pressures, texture, and light at the end of the birth canal remind one of many near-death experiences which tell of going through a tunnel towards a brightness. Kabbalistically, this is the passage through Daat, D-A-A-T, which means knowledge, the black hole of knowledge that bridges the worlds to bring about fission or fusion between the physical and psychological realms. Many people regarded this transition as a traumatic event, and they were squeezed through the canal. Some could actually recall the midwife's hand or a surgical instrument grabbing at them. Most were shocked by the coldness of the air, the blaze of light, and the noise in the room. Nearly all experienced a profound sense of loss on being incarnated. This was probably not just for the security of the womb, but the dramatically reduced contact with the higher worlds from which they had just emerged. Many, it was noted, were acutely aware of those about them and their state. For example, the relief of the mother, the indifference of a doctor, and in several cases, the disappointment of the father over the sex of the child. Some actually recall what people said, like, "Oh, what a fat boy." This indicates that the psyche is not infanticide at birth, but is perfectly consonant intelligent. In other words, they hear what you say. You see, a state with which a child enters this world is likewise more than just a physical reflex. One person remembers being intensely angry while another remained calm. It has been said that the way a person reacts at birth is crucial to their life. Indeed, many mothers have observed that this response is often retained as a major quality of character. Examples of this are the quiet, watchful babe who become a philosopher, and the furious infant who has been angered ever since. Angry ever since. It has been noted by many people that newborn babes are very much like old individuals. It is not just the wrinkled faces that give the impression, but the eyes that radiate a mature intelligence and the general feeling that here is an adult mind locked inside the small and delicate body. This reality is, alas, soon forgotten in the projection of most parents, relatives, and friends who only see the only the body of a baby. It's interesting to note that many of the hyporegressive subjects recall thinking and feeling like adults, and how they drifted in and out of the babe's body. But the connection between the psyche and the body is quite fragile. One person described how the body diminished their scope and that they could not relate to so small a vehicle. In Kabbalah, the stage of infantile-adult consciousness is called the, quote, days of wisdom, end quote. In some, it soon passes as the body begins to make its demands, and the incumbent psyche slowly becomes immersed in learning how to relate to heat and cold, hungry and bowel movements. In time, the adult element of the psyche shifts into the unconscious, although it is partially regained when the body is asleep, as the connection between the body and the psyche is loosened. The incarnation has now taken place, and slowly but surely, the memories of former existence are overlaid as the individual starts to live a new life. The possibilities of this incarnation, however, are revealed in the horoscope or macrocosmic time picture made for the moment of birth. And that's the conclusion of chapter 12 tonight, book called Psychology and Kabbalah. Again, you can actually find this book online. If you ever have that interest, just ask me and I will give you that at that point. So this is the end of the chapter tonight, chapter 12, which is about birth. We'll start another chapter probably tomorrow and go from there. Thank you for being here. Take care.